Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I'm in Texas at the Texas Auto Writers Truck Rodeo. This is a big, huge event with lots of trucks, lots of SUVs, where we get to test drive them all, both on the pavement as well as off-road. And when it comes to off-road, this is the guys you can see that was a lot of fun. This is the Ram Power Wagon, an HD off-road truck with lots of toys. And I got a chance to take it on a brief drive, a little bit out in the country, up on the hill and crawling some rocks. Here's what I found out. To start off with, what makes the Ram 2500 Power Wagon unique is that it really is the only heavy-duty class pickup from the big three that has as much off-road hardware and capability as it does. To put it in context, it is to the 3/4 ton class what the Ford Raptor is to the half-ton set. This is because it has a lot of off-road components above and beyond its styling bits and the 12,000-pound winch in its front bumper. These include a purpose-built suspension with a 2-inch lift, coil springs at all four corners, and Bilstein off-road shocks. Being coil sprung with upgraded links front and rear brings far better articulation over the rough stuff than a leaf spring suspension can offer, and up front it goes one step further with an electronic disconnecting sway bar that lets you completely loose for off-road duty. Add in both front and rear locking differentials and you can climb just about anything. Power comes only from a 6.4-liter Hemi V8, which has a class-topping 410 horsepower and 429 pound-feet of torque. Mated to a 6-speed automatic, it has unique throttle mapping modes when set in 4-wheel drive low to make crawling a bit easier in the backcountry. While I was driving it, I did ask why the 6.7-liter Cummins diesel wasn't offered in the Power Wagon, as it seems like it'd be a nice option. Ram tells me two reasons, which are the weight of the diesel isn't so good for off-roading, and the cooling package for it doesn't get along with the front bumper and winch that comes on the Power Wagon. That aside, power from the Hemi is more than plenty here, though it is surely pretty thirsty. It can ford water 30 inches deep given the high location of its air intake, and if you're keeping score, it has an approach angle of 34 degrees and a departure angle of 23.5 degrees. Ride is pretty impressive given its coil suspension both on the highway but most importantly out here on the back trails, which is where you spend the money for this truck to really be good. But it was crawling up the rock hill where I really wanted to get a feel for it. Before I went up the hill, the Ram guys had me put the truck in 4 low, lock up the front and rear axles, and disconnect the front sway bar for the straight up run. It was a moderate course, but was good for giving me a feel for how well the truck behaves when you're working it. And in such, I was pretty impressed with the level of ease at which it just crawls. The suspension doesn't buck you around much, especially with the sway bar disconnected. This is all pretty nice hardware, but I also drove it up this hill in 2-wheel drive without all of that stuff turned on, and it did just fine. The 2016 Ram 2500 Power Wagon, as tested here, came to $57,480. It did have about $7,000 in options though. These only come in crew cab models, but you can choose 3 trim grades starting with the base level Tradesman at about $46,000 all the way up to the full tilt Laramie that starts at about $57,000 before you add options. Well folks, there you have it for a very brief test drive in the Ram Power Wagon. As you can see, I had a pretty good time, but I love big trucks, and especially trucks that have genuine off-road capability. Now there is one thing I want to point out before we're done here, and that is the winch on the front of this thing. That is a 12,000-pound winch. It can get you out of almost any jam, and as the president of Ram said last night at our dinner, you know, you might have traction control, you might have crawl control and all of those things, but that'll get you out of anything. But I think the truth is what they'd really rather you see is that winch getting your friends in a Ford or a Chevrolet out of that jam. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV.